Today we'll talk about a very unique concept that we as Multipl as a company are introducing to the market, as well as it's been very intuitive to us as Indians. We are heavy savers. We've always seen our parents save for our spends. We've saved for our heavy purchases, investments, houses. But here we are trying to link it to something deeper and give a little bit more of meaning to it. So I'll just walk you through how we look at it, and I hope that you will also be able to appreciate the same. So, when we talk about finance, right, personal finance, there are various elements to personal finance where income is something that we are all earning and taxes are something we all have to pay. But beyond that, post our insurance needs are taken care of. There are a few things that we can keep in our hands and use them to optimize the journey of throughout our life. So, the most important aspect that I would want to talk to you here about is the savings and expenses aspect where we are trying to indulge it with investments. So, what is it that is missing here? Probably is the planning aspect. A lot of us are making investments on our own, but is it the most optimized or not? Is something that we have to think through. And many times we may not have the resources or the time to do it. But here we are trying to say that whatever you try to save for and you finally use it for consumption, right? You either, even if you're purchasing a house or a car, the investment is finally used for consumption. So here we are trying to link your saving with your investment to make it into a consumption. So this is traditionally how we have looked at, or the society has looked at savings, right? So whatever we earn, there are some expenses we have, and whatever is left is generally put into the savings. But here we are trying to tell you, or we are trying to recommend that there's a different way that we should look at it. We are trying to talk about goals. If you have some goals in the future, whichever you want to purchase for whatever you want to spend, and it could be something like even a retirement, which may be a long way down the line, but you need to plan for it. And if you start saving for it today, and if your needs are taken care of, so whatever is left after that saving where you take care of your future goals should be used for expenses. So that way it has a dual benefit. One is not just that you are saving and ensuring that your future goals are met as per the timelines, but also the current expenses that you do, the consumption that you do, can be guilt free. You don't have to bother about that. You're compromising on your future while enjoying the present. So this is something that we thought makes a lot of sense intuitively, and more of us should try to follow it. So now, if I tell you that, can you save something like a 50,000 more additionally just by planning? And I'm talking additionally. I'm not saying that 50,000 extra, that 50,000 discount you're getting, but I'm talking about, can you do something that where you can save this additionally, right? So let's see how that can be done. But before that, when we talk about lifestyle goals, all of us will have our personal goals. So some of you may want to travel, some of you will have goals to purchase some assets, some of you will want to purchase, pay for retirement for your kids' fees for higher education and such. But these are all very unique to us. Some of us will have different needs than the other of us. Now, if you look at the traditional ways how people save, right? One is the bank account savings, which are very common, and many times, you know, since it requires the least amount of effort, our funds keep lying there in the bank accounts. Once we get a salary, we may be having some buffer, and it just keeps lying there. It may not be invested in a more efficient way. Then we talk about FDs, which are very common in India. If you see in the banking system, the highest percentage of funds are parked in FDs. Now, there is a reason behind it, because it is a very considered a very safe instrument because it's backed by banks which are regulated by RBI. Plus, there's an insurance around it. But the truth of the matter is that you're losing your purchasing power when you invest into FDs. Today, the inflation the last few months average has been around 7%. Now, if you look at that versus a FD rate, which you are getting something around a 5.5%, you're losing your purchasing power every year by 1.5%. So does it make a lot of sense? Beyond a certain percentage of your income, it should not be parked into inefficient instruments. Then there is the other end of the spectrum where we may be dipping into some risky investments, like something like an unproven asset class, like a cryptocurrency, or something which is beyond our risk appetite. So that is again, going beyond our risk appetite is something which is not advisable. And when we talk about spending, right? So today, credit on demand has become so common that one is that even if you want to plan and save for some spend, what we do is that we save it in the savings account, or we use a current cash flow. Like you want to buy a mobile phone, you'll use your current cash flow or 2 months of cash flow and purchase that. And the third way is obviously of taking credit, which is like a BNPL or personal loan, where again you have to pay some interest on it, and you're borrowing from your future essentially, right? After, even if it's a no cost EMI, after a couple of months of EMI, it will start pinching you, and as it becomes the higher proportion of your disposable income. So these are not the most efficient ways to spend. So then, what is it that I'm talking about? So there is another way where we say that you have to save smart and spend smarter. Now, how can this be done? Now, the saving smart aspect is something which is intuitive, but we may not be actively doing. Maybe because it's not available to us readily, maybe because of some other reason, lack of information or lack of resources like time. So the primary thing that you have to do is, one is planning for your goals. Make an approximate goal that maybe in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I want to do such. In 15 years, I want this goal to be achieved. Now, when you do that, what is the best way to achieve that goal? What is the instrument that can best help you achieve that goal as per your risk profile? Again, no, it should be customized for you. What is good for person A will not always be good for person B. Many times we make investments looking at what our colleagues are doing, our friends and family are doing, but it may not be the most efficient way to do it. So, talking just about the saving aspect for now, if I talk about where we can invest, there are four, basic asset classes that we have categorized where you can invest. One is equity, which is something like stocks or equity mutual funds, where we invest. The other is debt, which can be something like government bonds. Even the FDs are a part of debt. And the third are commodities, which require some special expertise and may not be suitable for everybody. And there are other alternatives like real estate and cryptocurrencies, which again needs specific expertise. There is another product called Brand Saver, which I'll introduce in some time and talk about it more. But these are broadly where we can categorize most of our investments into. Now, you may ask which investment is the best, right? Because all of us want to reach the holy grail and say, where do I put my money? Tell me that. So, when we say that, right, the answer is that, so this is what you see on the screen right now is the performance of various asset classes over 10 years in the US. And here you can see that none of the asset classes has continuously been the top performer. There are three categories of equity here: the large cap, mid cap, and small cap. There's a generic US equities, debt, real estate, and gold. So gold had done extremely well in 2011 and 18, whereas not so great in 2013 to 15 and also 17. Similarly, if you look at real estate, some years it has done extremely well, some years it has done extremely poor. Of late, it has been performing pretty well. So, but does that mean that what kind of exposure do you have to that asset class? How do you decide that, right? But on an average, if you see from 2012 to 18, the area highlighted in dark, what happens is that equities on an average have performed relatively better. Now, does that mean you put all of your money or even your short-term savings into equities? Probably not. So I'll just address how we can look at it in the best way. Uh, just meaning to spend 1 minute over mutual funds. Why we think that mutual funds can be one of the best instruments, the lowest effort and relatively cost efficient instrument to invest into your goals, for your goals, and achieve them. So when we think about mutual funds, right, one, mutual fund is not an asset class. The asset classes we talked about, equity and debt, and even gold and other alternatives, mutual fund has the ability to cater to all of these. They have products which where you can invest into these. So many times we think only about equity when we think about mutual funds. Oh, market is going up or market is going down, but that is only the equity market. In fact, the debt market or the debt mutual funds are much larger in size as compared to the overall equity allocation. So, four primary categories of mutual funds, which is debt, equity, alternatives, and hybrid. Hybrid is nothing but a mix of debt and equity. Then, how do you select, right? How do you select the funds? So, this really needs to be based on the valuations. Like we saw, none of the asset classes are continuously the winners. You need to change them as per the relative valuations. And finally, you can think about doing an SIP, because what it helps is helps bring in the discipline. And like we talked about, longer term goals, right? You're saving systematically for them over time, and that will really help you stay put throughout the market instead of timing it. What happens is, even in the lower cycle and the higher cycle, your money is going in, and you will eventually derive a healthy IRR if your asset allocation is right. And finally, it is based on personal goals, which we touched upon in the beginning, and it should always be after research. Don't hear Don't listen to somebody else investing and invest for yourself will not be suitable for you. So either invest with your own research or go with an advisor who is working for you. So when we talk about mutual funds, right, there are 1500 plus direct mutual funds. So here comes the dilemma as to how do we select one of these or a few of these which can help us achieve our goals. So again, the same thing that we've been talking about, it should be linked to your goal, personalized to your profile. The profile here I'm talking about is your risk profile and your risk appetite. And finally, it depends on other factors which are external, such as the market valuation, where you need to diversify your capital so that your journey is achieved in a proper manner, as well as rebalance. Rebalancing is again, like we said, moving from various asset classes because none of the asset classes are continuously performing in the same way. So this is just something that we at Multipl follow: safety, liquidity, and return. So we prioritize your safety of capital before others and the liquidity of your funds. Finally, we believe that returns will follow. If your asset allocation is correct and you are investing in a disciplined manner, your returns will follow. So we look at returns more of as a byproduct of your proper asset allocation rather than chasing it and taking higher risk than you are expected to. Now comes the spending part, right? So we looked at how we can save. It depends on your asset allocation. Now spending part. Now if I tell you, one is that if you're planning in advance and you have some savings, right? Suppose you want to buy a car 3 years down the line and you have some assets built up and some returns earned on it. One benefit you have that is you have some extra money made out of the savings which you had earlier simply because of the planning. Then there are exclusive brand benefits which we'll talk about. And finally, at Multipl, at least, we try to help you earn rewards for the positive savings habit. Most of the applications or most of the industry will try to uh, reward you for spending. But here we are trying to say that build up a positive savings habit, and the incentivization here is to get rewards because for the delayed gratification, so that you benefit the most out of it. Now, if we talk about something like last minute impulsive purchases, right? Many times we purchase in the heat of the moment. Sometimes, if a new gadget is launched, we try to go ahead and buy that. If someone else is going on a trip, we may feel a FOMO factor and we may try to go for it. But many times, the event exists or the travel exists for maybe a week, but you end up paying EMIs for, say, 6 months or a year. So the regret or the financial stress continues. So here we are trying to say that it's not just the cost that is higher; it is also, to an extent, cost of your mental bandwidth. And plus, you are borrowing from the future, right? So you're compromising on your future goals. Many products like credit cards and uh, personal loans will charge you very high interest. Now, what if I tell you that you can get better benefits simply by the expression of interest to a brand? Suppose you want to buy a phone and you tell the market that I want to buy an iPhone. Just for this expression, for example, can you get a benefit? So here we are trying to say that at Multipl, we have made it possible to get a benefit or a better benefit for doing this. And finally, saving directly with a brand, which is a very unique concept which we are trying to introduce. So here we talk about two models. One is a market saver model. So what happens is, for example, you want to travel in this year, by the end of this year, right? So what you can do is create a goal for your travel, say 6 months down the line or whenever your travel is. Assume it costs around 3 lakhs, right? Now, for 12 months, you are investing the amount, and the actual amount you finally end up investing is something like 2.75 lakhs. Where does the money go? The money goes into mutual funds and depending again on your risk profile. And here, when I say mutual funds, again, we have to remember it's not just equity funds, depends on the market valuation. Currently, we believe the market valuations are high. So we are giving debt funds, but we also rebalance it. Suppose it gets cheaper in the future, your funds will be rebalanced. And finally, you can tag a brand. We have a partner list of many brands. So for a travel category, we have 7+ brands. For jewelry, we have different brands. For electronics, we have different brands. And these are regular purchases that we do every year. We are not asking you to go and spend ahead of something which you were not going to purchase. What we are saying is every year we travel, every year we try to buy some gadget or the other. Every couple of years, we may be buying some jewelry or something like that. So we are just trying to partner with those brands and get you the best offer here. Finally, your purchase of the 3 lakh is made using this model, right? So what happens is that you save in advance, earn some return, and earn the better brand benefit. Now, how does this help you? I'll just show you in a minute. The brand saver model is something which is new to the market, which we are introducing. So here, think of something like if you're decided on a purchase. Suppose you say that one bike, a particular bike, is something that I want, and we have a partnership with them. For example, the bike costs 3 lakh rupees. All right. Now you are saying that for 2 years I'll save for this bike. What happens is you're paying 20,000 only for 24 months, or 20,000 for 12 months, and you will make a 2.4 lakhs. By investing 2.4 lakhs, the brand is willing to give you that product, maybe a bike, maybe a electronic, maybe some other product, at the same cost of 2.4 lakhs. So they are giving that kind of a discount, a 20% kind of or 10% kind of discount to you, simply for saving that amount. The amount here is going to the brand. The amount as an advance for purchase. The amount is not going to a mutual fund or savings instrument. It's going to the brand. So what turns out here is that it turns out to be a win-win deal. Why is that? Because brand is getting an advance payment, so it helps in their own financing. You are getting a better deal, and the reason the brand is willing to give that better deal is because they are getting a committed customer, that such and such group of people are interested in the product. And this is a nothing to lose kind of model, because you can cancel it anytime before your last SIP, and your principal will be returned. And there are these are few of the brands that we are in partnership with, and we are working on it. And this is an ever growing list. In another 2 months, probably it will be more than double. We have more than 50 brands. We could display only a few, so but you can see they are in various categories, such as gems and jewelry, travel, electronics, which education, which is our yearly usage kind of items. Finally, the rewards aspect, which I was saying, you get rewarded for simply doing this, because since you are delaying your gratification, what we are trying to reward you for is the positive savings habit, because we don't want to promote consumption beyond means. What we are saying, that if you are doing this saving, we also want to keep you in the loop by keeping you rewarded, so that you are engaged continuously and also get the benefit of, one is not having debt, and the other is purchasing it the most optimal way. So that is what we mean when we say save smart and spend smarter. So some things, like I said, some things that you would plan on a yearly basis, and how you can get the best return out of them is by saving and investing, tagging a brand, getting a brand benefit, and finally the rewards that we just talked about. And this is the benefit comparison that you see, putting into hard numbers. So something like a market saver, where you tag no brand, nothing. You just, instead of a FD or an RD, which will give you something like a 3% or 4%, you're investing into debt fund. That is why I'm putting a 7% here. Something like a ultra short debt fund, which will give you 7% today. And discount I've taken zero, because you're tagging no brand, simply the market investment. Still, you're getting a benefit of 7% annualized. So the numbers on returns and benefits are annualized, and the number on discount is absolute. So the benefit you are getting here is 7%, which you compare to a 3%, a savings account, is still double. That's a big difference that is coming in. The second option of tag market saver is where you tag a brand and get additional 5% discount. Now, this discount, being an absolute, shoots up your IRR, which is an annualized return. So if you do this on a yearly basis, every year you're saving, say 20% benefit is what you're getting. Every year you're saving this much amount, which you can keep for your future goals or some other goals. And this can become a virtuous loop. Finally, the brand saver model, which I just talked about, the benefit is, condition is that you should be sure what you're willing to buy. The benefit is that you get a better reward than what you would have gotten in the market, and also there's no taxation here, because no income is derived. You're only getting a pure discount. And the final comparison is with your savings bank, which will give you somewhere around 3% today. So this is like a typical example of 3 to 5 goals that you may have in a year, and the total cost will be around 4.5 lakhs, right? So a BNPL will give you a minimum of 4.5 lakhs is what it will cost, and the savings account, probably you'll save some 8,000 by saving some lesser amount, but the IRR that we saw will be around 3%. But by saving on multiple, by combining both the returns, which are more efficient, and the brand benefits, you will get something like the cost will come to something around 4 lakhs, which is a huge benefit every year, right? If you do it on a yearly basis. Finally, just a quick word about Multipl. So we offer personalized investment advisory only. We are SEBI registered. All the funds available on the platform are direct and unbiased. We take absolutely zero commission from any mutual fund. We have no interest in promoting any kind of mutual fund over the other. It's purely based on your risk profile and your goal. And finally, the safety aspect, your privacy and security is 100% guaranteed. We don't sell your data or push your data outside the company. It's only for our internal usage. Finally, you get the brand offers and rewards that we talked about. And yeah, so this is where I'll conclude. We call it a multiple movement because we think that it's a movement underway. It's a way that it's a new way of looking at savings. It's a new way of looking at spending, and it's a paradigm shift that we believe. What was always ingrained to us as Indians, our household balance sheets will not be heavily leveraged. Our parents or previous generations have always been saving, but here we are trying to gamify it in a way and provide you some a layer of integration on top of it, which is the brand aspect, where you can derive the maximum benefit out of your yearly spends. And the same thing applies for long-term goals also. 5 years later, you want to buy a car, we'll have some partners on cars. 10 years later, you want to buy a house, probably by the time we'll have some partners on housing as well. So it becomes a real virtuous loop, which is why we are calling it a movement. So yeah, that's from my side, and I would welcome you to download the app. And yeah, thanks.